I want to, I traveled to all 56 counties across Montana over the last few months, and these are difficult economic times. In fact, I've never witnessed the angst in Montana's eyes that I have of late. To turn this economy around, we need a congressman that's dedicated, that brings some ideas to the job, and certainly brings a work ethic. What we don't need is a congressman who continually takes the easy way. Congressman Rehberg, during his early years, was given a ranch, fully stocked, fully equipped. He couldn't make a go of it because he didn't want to work hard. He decided to chop it up, sell it by the slice in the form of a subdivision. He's not a rancher. He's a land developer and a professional politician that spent 20 years eating out of the public trough.
You know, it's hard not to get a little offended when somebody thinks they know your background and tries to give a little story that may sound cute. I wasn't handed a ranch fully stocked and all of that. It was passed down from generation to generation, my great-grandfather to my grandfather to my father to me. And you know what? One of the reasons I ran for Congress? Because when it was passed along to my sister and I, as an operating business, the federal government felt like they needed to take part of it. I had to sell a third of the ranch, the houses, the corrals, the barns. I didn't have any livestock, just to pay the down payment on the estate tax, to go to the bank to borrow the money. All the years I ranched, it was on borrowed money. Did I ever have a hired hand? No. Why am I not a good roper? I don't have time to be a good roper. You know what I am? I'm really good at managing an agricultural business. That's the kind of person you want back in Washington, D.C., not one that can tell cutesy stories, but may not be anywhere close to the truth. We've had a lot of problems in this country. Everybody knows it. There's a certain level of uncertainty. And so you need somebody that's tested and tried. You need somebody that's not a yes man for Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and Barack Obama.
Yeah, I think this year voters are certainly unhappy with incumbents. We've seen that in races across the country. There's a race in North Carolina where one of the candidates didn't run for office, didn't have a website, didn't have any brochures published, and he beat the incumbent hands down. So there are a lot of people that are upset out there. I want to see a minimal government with maximum liberty. I tend to get a little upset when we always talk about Republicans and their less government, lower taxes. Yet the opposite always happens in Congress and at home. We must get spending under control. And since I'm either a Democrat or a Republican, I won't be pressured to vote for the many Obama administration spending bills. That's the problem.
We all stated that he did not seem impaired to us. We were on our off hours, we went boating, we got back on the boat, he was articulate. This was going to be his problem because we were part of an accident. Did I want to be a part of an accident? No. Is it legitimate to take an evening off and go on a boat and go across the lake and have dinner and come back and jump in your car and go on for another day? Yes. Did something go wrong? It's called an accident. We were a part of an accident. And if you talk to my staffers, they'll say, no, we didn't know he was impaired. We didn't know he had a problem. He didn't show it. He didn't slur. He did everything the way we thought. So was it a mistake? Yeah. Do we wish the accident didn't happen? Yeah. Can it be made a political issue? I hope not. Because I'd like to think there are going to be more important issues to talk about, like health care, like taxation, like building a more secure future for our kids and our grandkids. Well,
it's true. 30 years ago, as a young lawyer, I had an opportunity to represent a career criminal. I could have taken the easy way and said no, but I took the hard way, the right way. I did the right thing. I took a career criminal, turned him in to a government witness, the highest ranking La Cosa Nostra member ever in the history of the country to become a government witness. And then I worked hard with the FBI, with the Justice Department, with Republican Rudy Giuliani, and together, as a team, we put 26 high-ranking La Cosa Nostra members in jail. I didn't take the easy way, I did what's right. And in handling that case, I did more for local law enforcement across this country than our congressman has done in his entire life. And what happened was we voted to deregulate big oil. And it's not surprising our congressman supported that. He's taken over $800,000 from big oil over the time he's been in Washington. And what happens when that occurs? And when you lack the intellectual curiosity to ask the tough what-if questions, what if there's a blowout? What, do we have a secondary safety device in place? Do we have a third device in place? Should we have required the drilling of a relief well simultaneously with the drilling of the main well?
Because obviously, when you look at a liability standpoint from BP's standpoint, they're not going to say, well, yes, we were reckless and we knew this stuff was going to happen, which I think there was some of that probably did happen. They were trying to drill too far out, I think, which is a problem. You can't control a leak in that depth of the ocean. We probably should be there in the first place. But the main problem, I think, that we have today is liability laws. After the Exxon Valdez, Congress passed a law that simply limited liability to about $75 million. Well, that $75 million was put forth so it wouldn't put out of business some of the smaller producers, because at that time oil was pretty important for the economic well-being of the United States. It still is until we can find some alternatives to this situation.
As far as BP, I think we need to do as much as we possibly can to hold them responsible all the way along. If 20 billion isn't enough, then we go for more. I don't like corporate greed any more than anyone else, any more than I like union greed or bureaucratic greed. I don't like the inefficiencies that occur in anything that's big that way, whether it's big banks or big government. And so we need to hold them responsible, but the time for blame probably is a little bit later. Why didn't this president act quickly? Why didn't he have somebody on site? Didn't he learn anything from the mistakes of George Bush, who didn't react fast enough? Why are the bureaucratic things occurring down there right now? Did you see it? Just the other day, Bobby Jindal went nuts because the skimming barges were put on hold. They were stopped by the Coast Guard. Why? Because the Coast Guard didn't think they had the appropriate fire extinguishers or life jackets. You don't do that in an emergency. So there are many new and fresh ideas that are still out there that could be implemented to try and bring down the cost of health care. But frankly, this is going to be very expensive, what we've got right now. If you saw my questioning of Secretary Spielitz the other day, I caught her in it. She knows it's coming in over budget, and they do not have the solutions at this time.
We need a plan, and we've got to start. I'm not satisfied with it. When I get to Washington, I'll be on that issue. I want to see a single payer program that'll save $400 billion annually, the biggest potential cost-cutting measure in front of the Congress. Thank you.
Certainly, when both parties agree on clash for clunkers, higher federal deficits, the Patriot Act, and the giant expansion in healthcare and Medicare, then I think I know we're definitely in trouble. And being a libertarian, I'm not beholden to the party bosses and party bosses for either Democrats or Republicans.
How proud have you been of some of the personal behavior of our congressmen? I'm thinking of several incidents. I'll ignore those for the moment, though, and look at his job performance. Again, while being there, he's done nothing for Montana. In fact, he sponsored exactly 4 bills that have actually passed. 3 of them were to name post offices here in Montana. Oh, in fairness, there were 2 other resolutions that he sponsored. One, congratulating Carroll College on winning the national championship, and I agree with that. And a second, congratulating Billings on their 125th birthday. Unfortunately, that one didn't get out of committee. That's the sum total of this congressman's work product over the last 10 years.
And the true test of leadership is how you use that time. And my time is best spent trying to work on the coalitions and the caucuses. I'm chairman of the Baby Caucus with Rosa DeLauro from Connecticut. Imagine that, Rosa DeLauro and I teamed up on legislation with Dan Bourne from Oklahoma, a Democrat, and Stephanie Sandlin from South Dakota. Why? Because it's not about politics. It's not red and blue. It's red, white, and blue.